You folks inspected him.
I bet it is. I rented a boat over in Holland. And this is the one. I split the boat right away. Oh, but you're looking yeah, it's nice not having any coverage. Good. When you gonna start?
Oh my fucking god, TT.
Probably Friday. I'm gonna go to Monday. I'm so sick. Go better than it was.
We've got rails that
Good.
have.
Yeah, I think so.
Rails have 130.
I need you to tell me what the audio sounds like. I'm gonna send you this.
I don't have. What do you mean?
You got your phone on you, right? Just go like in the other room. Just click on the link. It'll take you to YouTube, and just tell me if it sounds loud.
It all comes together before floundering. Guys walk the road. We ran from gangs to oh, really? Yeah, I think they're all back.
All right, cool.
Like really loud, actually.
All right, good. Spinning wheel of
So
death.
what you do? You just so you created a stream on it?
Yeah.
So primarily saved on YouTube.
Well, it'll be saved as a video into my account, and I can choose to let it out there. But I mean, the one I just did is like just keeps doing this for the last hour. So I had to make a new one and send an email out to the fleet saying, "Here's a new link." And then that one didn't work, and I finally got this one up. Fucking whatever.
Yeah, I'm back to my unit. I don't have to back up. Oh, okay.
gentlemen, SPV operators, thanks for being with us. I'm Lieutenant Commander Pat Frayne, I'm the Chief of Inspections here at Sector Delaware Bay. And welcome. Thank you for taking the time out of your nights to be with us. I know we're taking away from family time, busy time, so we really do appreciate it. This is an event we hold every year. We're gearing up for our busy season, which is between March to May with all the inspections, so you can get ready for your busy season between May and September, October-ish. So really appreciate it, and to continue that open lines of communication, so we're all aligned moving forward, so we can tackle problems together. Be proactive. Before we start tonight's program, I'd just like to recognize the coasties in the room, our domestic vessel inspectors. Hopefully, you all should recognize most of them. They're on your boats every year. They're led by our fearless Lieutenant Maria Villanueva right there. So thank you. I won't go through introducing everyone, but if you get a chance between breaks, go up and introduce yourselves and build those relationships. And a special thank you to a few individuals. Lieutenant J.G. Thomas running all the IT, doing all that for us. The crew that helps set up, it takes a lot of time and effort to do every year, so thank you. The station for loading their building, and especially, I do not see her right now, but Lieutenant J.G. Sam Rice, I think she's out there right now, as the logistician, the coordinator of the engineers. So thank you very much to Sam Rice, who's out there. Yeah, I think she's hiding right now. So with that being said, we're going to move on right into the program here. Next slide, please.
We get the clicker right there, sir.
Oh. Yeah. Yes. All right, so just some ground rules or rules of the road for you vessel operators out there. Just please, I know everyone's busy. Please silence your phones. If you have to take a call, please step outside and take it so we're not interrupting the presentations. Next, if we can hold all questions to the end of each presentation, just so we're not disrupting the flow of the presenter themselves, and hopefully they can answer your question as they go through the slides anyway. So that is the goal. Restrooms are right there in the back, so hopefully you can find them. In an emergency, we would evacuate through the aft doors there, outside, and to the parking lot. And please help yourselves. I know we're taking you away from dinner time right now. We have Jimmy John's, cookies, chips, water, everything you can eat. So I think we have way more of that than we do PowerPoint slides, hopefully. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce, in 30 seconds, I would like to, 2 minutes. Okay. So we'll just give it here in a second. I thought she was in the back of the room there. So we're going to be introducing Captain Kate Higgins-Bloom. She is our sector commander, officer in charge for inspections, in charge of everyone in the tri-state area for everything. So let's give her a few minutes and let her step in, and then we'll begin with the program. I'm terrible at stalling. Well, I tell you what. While we do wait for her, we do have I'll introduce our deputy sector commander, the number 2 in charge. He's brand new this summer. This is Captain Roberto Rivera, heavy marine inspection background. If you want to introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Robert Rivera came from second tour headquarters, MER. Before I was in San Francisco sector, the PDH over there. And other tours I have is MSO Miami, Sector Honolulu, Sector San Juan, Detachment Ponce, activities Far East in Japan. And yeah, I already mentioned a little bit. Happy to be here. This is my first pick. As far as the assignment, reported last summer as the your deputy. Looking forward for some of the engagements that we get on the small passenger vessel community world, where we learn a lot of the things that are going on and things that we always look for to make ourselves better, to give you that service that you deserve, not only you as the operators, but also the passengers that you guys take care of. Other than that, we'll stand by for questions and things that you would like to share, honestly, to make us better as a community. So with that, pass the mic to the boss.
Right. And this is
I was trying to sign in. They're like, Captain, you don't have to sign in. I was like, oh, okay. All right.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for making the time to come out here tonight. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Captain Kate Higgins-Bloom. I'm the sector commander and captain of the port for Sector Delaware Bay, which includes not only the great state of New Jersey, but Delaware and most of Pennsylvania and sort of Philly. Big difference between Philly and the Jersey Shore, but we love them both. So I appreciate you really, though, for the hard work that you do year round to keep our waterway really vibrant. Producing for the local economy and also just helping to share kind of the beauty of the maritime environment with folks. So thank you for all of the really hard work. We have a great evening set up for all of you tonight, where I think there's going to be a lot of great discussion and hopefully the start of some really good conversations. I know there's been a lot of change in the regulatory environment over the last year or two, in the wake of things like the Conception, the Stretch Duck, and more recently, the Spirit of Norfolk Fire. There have been regs rolled out, and I am really grateful to all of you for your hard work on implementing them to make the waterway safer, and really partnering with the folks here at Sector Delaware Bay. I know I was talking with the staff, deficiencies are down, I think about 40% since last year, which is a really remarkable achievement. So kudos to you and the work that you do. And just to give you a little bit of context, the inspectors at Sector Delaware Bay do about 1,200 inspections a year. 300 of them are on small passenger vessels. And so it's a big part of our portfolio, and it's a really important part of the work we do here. And so it's always a treat to be out here with you guys, and I hope it's a productive evening. You're going to see and talk to all sorts of different folks from the team. And if you don't get what you need now, I hope you have the right phone numbers. I'm sure you guys are going to have them. Yeah. To keep that conversation going. But really thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Captain. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Captain Harrison from Passenger Vessel Association. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I am pleased to be here. Normally it would be Eric Christensen, our Director of Safety, et cetera, et cetera. My short bio is I spent 29 years plus in the Coast Guard, 2/3 with marine safety. I started here in my marine safety career here in Philadelphia in '64, and I've been with PBA for 35 years. And we brought Eric Christensen on board about 10 years ago to put some energy and some fresh blood into the system. So pleased to be here. This is Eric's presentation. He gave it in Chicago, so it's a test run. And for me, I haven't figured out whether I'm talking half an hour or not. But anyway, I'll try and stay on message, on time. Oh, there we are. All right, who's PBA? PBA is the National Trade Association for Passenger Vessels. For U.S. flag, U.S. built, U.S. crew passengers. There's about 200 million passengers a year. We've got a hard number. There's the ferry census each year, and puts ferry passengers about 150 million. And you carry the 500 member companies. We provide compliance tools, regulatory information, regulatory support, all of the security program. For those of you who cables, security program, probably a member of PBA for the Ultimate Security Program. And quality partnership. Talk a little bit more about the quality partnership between us and the Coast Guard. Topics, history, partnership, again, challenges and successes, annual report, preparatory seascape. And I saw the agenda, and you're gonna get a heavy dose of that and a good dose. Industry concerns, recommendations, and opportunities. First, the history of the partnership. It was established in 1966. Admiral Card came in and decided that he needed to re-educate marine safety. And so they came up with a program to protect people from the sea and the sea from people. And it was a challenging budget time. We were right-sizing the Coast Guard, which meant they actually about half the marine safety people out of the Coast Guard in the late 90s. They try and keep sailors and aviators, and so we tend to be sacrificed animals sometimes. Challenges and success, go through those. Annual report, that quality partnership that we're talking about. We meet with Coast Guard 2 or 3 times a year. They provide a 20-page or more annual report on the inspection, investigations, passenger vessel industry, et cetera, et cetera. Currently, regulatory seascape, as I said, industry concerns, recommendations, and opportunities. All right, success of the partnership, streamlined inspection program, came up with a navigation vessel, have a switch after the 90s, adapted that to passenger vessels. Has ferry, Bog Island, and that aluminum high-speed cataracts came in service. A lot of people died, and they wipe out the pilot and motion system. There's a lot of mystery to it. We got worked with naval architects and the Coast Guard to figure out what was going on. We gave a risk guide and a little guide to help establish risk between industry and Coast Guard. Structural fire protection. NAVIC 797 is the equipment for fire protection. And they decided to change it and require fire safety modeling of all aluminum vessels. And we said, hey, we can't do that. It's too heavy. And so we did one on the existing vessel. Slip, trips, and falls. We want to know who's falling, where they're falling, and why they're falling. The flagship safety management system. Long about the late 90s when we first thought that we might get shoved back to the DOT. You know, when streamlined inspection program was, I said 90s, EVA risk guides, and slip strips as well. Flagship safety management, I got to remember all that. When it looked like the Coast Guard was going to either put marine safety out of business or something, we were afraid that they were going to shove it off onto class society. And so we spent a lot of time coming up with a flagship safety management system. We didn't call it that. It was a guide for operators to establish an alternative to what we thought might be the class society, a long-term safety management system, and a policy now, and so it's been adapted to that. Well, passenger vessel automation, guided mixed use of waterways. A lot of problems in mixed waterways, Chicago River, tourist, recreational, commercial, other. And I'm starting to slow down, so I better hurry up. Current projects, slip strips and falls, we're gonna update it. Plate assessment tool. Hitting, do you replace a piece of plate or can you clad weld it or what do you do? And so there is a tool that we're developing. It came from the ship structure committee. And you pick an area, probably the worst area, and measure the pitch and go through this program. And it will give you the answer whether or not the plate retains its strength and can continue or you need to cut it out. Plate assessment, LED lighting, regs were written before LED. Provision marine safety, event permit. The strange thing is, when people apply for a marine event to the Coast Guard, the person or the party responsible for that, for assessing the impact on the industry is the applicant himself. And so a lot of times, the Coast Guard approves a use permit and catches industry flat-footed. And so we're reworking that to make sure that the Coast Guard, before they publish it, does either check the applicant or does one on their own. Current subscription falls, follow up. We'll see how that's going. Oh, I have to play assessment too. Did I go back? All right, annual report. As I said, is published for the report with us. And we looked at 3-year average data because it covers COVID and restoration. So you want to see fleet size, it's almost back to full 6,500 passenger vessels, 90 vessels, I think. Decreases in deficiencies and detentions. There is an extensive report on those items by youth, by district, and by date. Vessel related fatalities, and that falling, we're looking for more descriptive information. Safety management systems. It was first published in 2010. The Congress directed the Coast Guard to develop safety management systems for passenger vessels carrying a number of passengers to be determined by the Coast Guard. Coast Guard didn't really do anything. It all hit the fan with conception. And the Coast Guard was told to get on it. And so now we had a notice of proposed rulemaking in 91. We expect the safety management system rule to come out this fall. Cyber, I'm sure you heard a lot about it. Executive order rewrote the NHTSA rule, the Marine Transportation Safety, in the executive order. And so the Coast Guard's come up with a NAVIC explaining that and how you can comply with those rules. And the notice of proposed rulemaking has been published. It's 110 pages in the Federal Register. If anybody knows the Federal Register, 110 pages. It's a heavy lift. And so PBA is reviewing it and will comment to the document. We in the PBA have legislative, regulatory, safety committees, and it's made up of members. And so we take the issue to the committees, and we get the industry input, our member input, into forming a position that we then take forward to the Coast Guard in public hearings. And we also encourage our members to go to public hearings. And NPRM, I was talking about the NPRM, not the NAVIC. I'm sorry. The NAVIC was published by the Coast Guard. We're making is now the Federal Register, 110 pages. I got a little ahead of myself. We all know sexual assault and harassment. That was a big issue at the beginning of last year, and continues to be. We have a policy letter on the reporting requirements. And they are significant. We asked our members at a board meeting, one member said that he's put in 20 reports to CGIS, Coast Guard Investigative Service, and there have been no follow-ups on inspection, investigation. So we're not sure whether he was reporting the right thing or what happened. So I don't know. This has been a learning curve. I don't know what's been here, and I would encourage you to talk to the Coast Guard. Your senior investigating officer is probably the main person to talk to when you talk about should we report or not. Master Key, I think you got a handout. That also came out of sexual assault, sexual harassment. A process for identifying all people who have access to the master key and control of the master key, sign it out, sign it in, the details for that, and a handout of it. Other agencies, EPA, those of you that are over 70 feet, I don't know if there are any, have had control of vessel incidental discharges under a general permit. In other words, if you say, I comply, you comply. In 2018, Congress said, EPA, go make regulations and pass them on to the Coast Guard, and Coast Guard, you come up with regulations for enforcement. EPA is 3 years behind. We expect that they will come out for requirements on incidental discharges, gray water and contents of it, and metals and so forth and so on. And then they had 2 years to do it. Now they can bring it up. And the Coast Guard has 2 years to make regulations for inspection and control of those regulations. PTS, Marianne, the Bureau of Transportation Statistics is operating a voluntary near-miss reporting system for MARAD. MARAD was mainly dealing with their deep water clients. They are now asking for permission to require industry generally, or inform industry generally, there is this voluntary near-miss reporting system. You would, once the forms are approved, you should have a little more information for it. NOAA, right whales. I don't know how many of you have agonized over this. NOAA has sent a rule to the Office of Information and Regulatory Analysis, which is a step just before publishing the rule. The problem is we don't know if it's a summary notice of proposed rulemaking, an interim final rulemaking, or a final rule. And so we're working with OIR to get in and talk about the great damage that this is going to do to passenger vessels in specific. So we don't know. OIR sometimes sits on something. They're supposed to get it out in 90 days. We will know the next step in right whale control up and down the East Coast. Canada accepts our safety management system. At one point, Canada says if you're in Canadian waters, you have to have a safety management system, no matter who you are or what you are. We know that's been challenged by our government, but we have no idea where that stands at the moment. Industry concerns were inspected by the Coast Guard. We, from our meetings with regulatory, with the committees and so forth, there's a perceived decrease in proficiency of inspections. There's some specifics, but that's a general feeling among, I should say general feeling. It's a feeling among a good number of our veterans. Not sure that they understand all the vessel systems that exist or existing or are there. Delayed issuing of requirements. Owners hate it when the inspector leaves the job and goes back to the office to check, and sometime afterwards sends a 835 for compliance. It comes without further explanation. It comes without further opportunity. So, well, there is a further opportunity. You can always ask for reconsideration. But that's something that's driving industry up the wall is you go away and mixing the here is a requirement. The historic number of billets added between 2008 and 2012. When in 9/11, the Coast Guard went all out on security. And the way they implemented it, they took about half the marine inspection staff and made them security. Probably another good chunk went off to industry and became the experts for industry. And so Chairman Oberstar of House Mercury and Fisheries decided that Coast Guard couldn't handle marine safety, and they're going to send you back to the Department of Transportation. We didn't think that was a particularly good idea. The Coast Guard was screwing up. Why not make the Coast Guard fix it? So, in testimony, I was one of the industry representatives, and I got to challenge Alan and Allen and with the term martial law. When Oberstar came in to open the hearing and chew on Admiral Allen for a while, he said, somebody out there thinks it's martial law when you're around. And he says, I'm not going to tell you. Of course, there were 75 copies of my statement out. What we did is we got authority for 500 billets. And established the feeder ports, the training officers. Coast Guard's still short of inspectors. I don't know, I think somebody came up with a number of 400. I don't know where that came from, it's rattling around my head. But, of the 500 billets we got over that period of time, where did all the inspectors go? One of the things that it did do is it created a threshold for civilian inspectors. When I was as a marine inspector, a lot of my fellow inspectors were masters, chief engineers who had come in under what they call 219 law. And we look back at that, and it seemed to be an idea that maybe we better get some more stability and maybe some industry side back in on the functioning side here. So anyway, the feeder ports, okay. And as I said, that really created the influx of civilian inspectors. We thought we were going to get people from industry. We got warrant officers, which is all right. But I don't think it was attractive to people in the industry to come aboard and be an marine inspector. So anyway, that's why. And we have where the trained inspectors go. We don't know. Probably a lot of them are going on to career enhancement, going to billets that have other attributes that enhance promotion. And so, and do they come back? They don't always come back. Industry concerns, again, concern about supervisory positions created for junior officers. Feel there's a cost. If you tell a junior officer he's in charge of white T-boats or something, the focus tends to go to his responsibility rather than to continue to broaden his or her experience by being a broad-based marine inspector. It also creates a bureaucracy. An operator who's talking to a marine inspector said, I don't agree. And he said, well, go appeal it. Who do I do? Lieutenant JG somebody or another. And so I know that they're doing it primarily for career enhancement because aviators have titles, mariners have titles, and marine safety has marine inspectors. And so, but anyway, it's a concern. Doing marine inspector for weekends, some ports don't offer it. I hope you do. Documenting inspector's decisions. Don't always use 835 or worklist. And when that happens, and a new inspector comes along, and an inspector comes along and tells you, paint from left to right or something, and the next guy comes along, comes along and say, no, you paint from right to left, and you say, well, the other inspector told me that. Well, where's it documented? What? And paint's just an element. So anyway, the vast majority of inspections are just fine, and they do. The Coast Guard has experienced apparently some drain in the inspection field, but the level of inspections has probably increased and bettered over the years. As I said, we still have some concern. Time is money. When you get close up on the dry dock, we don't want you going back and saying, well, check on the regs and giving you something, or saying, we'll be there on Monday when you got a charter on Saturday, or you're in dry dock and you're paying for a dry dock, and the shipyard saying, get the hell out of here, and so forth. So sometimes we just give in and say, okay, we'll pay the freight. There is a reconsideration and appeal process. For a while, and I'm not sure it's important now or significant now, but the inspector on site would take an appeal and would tell them that they have to do all this research and write and so forth and so on. And you really don't. You're still working within the command. You ask them, you're going to go talk to the chief of inspection or the assistant chief of staff or whatever, and try and work it out. And hopefully you work it out. Fair retribution still exists among some. I think that the Coast Guard, if you complain, the Coast Guard will put you on some sort of list. And then we have Admiral Wayne Ardwin that says no. Appeals are not a sign of disrespect, but an opportunity for the Coast Guard to reevaluate its processes and improve decision making. That's by the means. Doesn't mean they're always right or need improvement, but it's an opportunity to learn. Streamlined inspection program. The officer or inspector general took a look at it and said, hey, this thing's not working very well. Has lack of program focus. In many offices, if you go and say you want me in a streamlined inspection program, they say, get out of here. We don't want to do it. We don't do it. So there's a low enrollment, and we have people who have been under that SIP for 20 years. steamer Natchez in New Orleans has been under that since the beginning. And it changed the relationship between them and the Coast Guard. They do a lot of the pre-inspection repeated and SIP, I think we got something we can talk about it. You then are always prepared for inspection because you have done it yourself. No effective measures for success. Nobody's looking to say, hey, how's it going? Except when we say, hey, you gotta talk about it. Coast Guard commitment to address issues. Again, under, there are issues. We have issues. I don't know specifically. Sometimes we have a little trouble getting the Coast Guard's attention in an area where we think there's significant problems. And it's resolved many times under SIP. The Coast Guard and the owners have a process for communicating and working together. Let's see. If you're a tier one vessel, the only way to get out of it is be a member or have your vessel in the streamlined inspection program. Because those vessels who might otherwise fall into tier one are exempted or taken out of tier one. I think over the years you've caught up on tier one, tier two, tier three. Got it. If you qualify, enroll in SIP. Safety management system, you know it's coming. Unlike towing vessels, passenger vessels have an established inspection program. So, how's this going to fit in? Is everybody going to have this streamlined inspection program? Is it going to be third-party inspection? How's it operate? So, if the towing vessel industry that just came under came under inspection, has the opportunity. The Coast Guard wanted everybody to go to third-party safety management system, and they did offer an opportunity to stay on the Coast Guard inspection. And so towboats have a choice. We don't know how that's necessarily going to work out for us. So, will it overlay current? I don't know. Flagship SMS is recognized by the Coast Guard and by Transport Canada. So, if what we're looking for is the safety management flagship is a voluntary tool that our members can use. But what we're looking for is that will be accepted as compliance with safety management system if it's where it may be required for third party or repowering good news. I don't know if this is good news or not. There's $3 billion in funding, but it says most of the funding goes to zero emission. I don't know how many of you are working on zero emission. Applicants partner with knowledgeable such as report or something. And I don't know that you as a small operator have the wherewithal to work with a port or some public agency to partner with you on this application. Mission deadline, May 28th. If you're interested, that's the email. Okay, recommendations. Hold or participate in Industry Day. We believe in them. We encourage the Coast Guard. I said our partnership with the Coast Guard, we meet with Admiral Arwin and his staff, and we keep saying, industry days, industry days, industry days. And some say, well, we can't do it, and so forth. What we encourage is, well, first of all, there are places like Chicago where Industry Day is sponsored by shipmasters. And say they put it on, they invite the Coast Guard. Coast Guard are the invited participants. Sometimes the Coast Guard is setting it up, they're renting the property, contracting, expenditures, and so forth and so on. And so, you know, I don't know what happened. I don't know where that came from. But anyway, so I think that we should encourage Industry Day. Obviously, you have it. So I'm not talking to you specifically. I'm talking to you generally as a Coast Guard. Operators need to know their vessels. I don't know if it's typical. The conception, the owner of the conception and the sister vessel, when he was asked about his vessel or Coast Guard regulations, he said, I don't know, I leave it up to the captains. Well, somebody better know something about the vessel. Reduced training during inspection. Operators are willing to offer their vessels a lot of time for you to come down or the training officer to come down and run people through and do an inspection or an education on systems and one of the things that I don't know what's going on here, but industry is experimenting with alternate hours and so forth and so on. So the systems are coming along. Well, most of you know the engines. You don't mess with engines anymore. The computer will tell you to run them. And so, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's part of operators not knowing their vessel. I don't know. Or the Coast Guard not being unfamiliar with what they have. Sounds like obviously here you have a good dialogue with the Coast Guard. I can't imagine because you can't address either. They ask you or you ask them about issues on inspection. Encourage junior officers to apply for industry training. This is where Coast Guard officers come and spend months, 6 months, or a year with industry. And we, the PBA, sponsor some industry training. And we align them with our Coast Guard, with our but I would point out that Admiral Linda Fagan was an industry trainee with the Coast Guard in New Orleans and set up the SIP program for steam-powered, paddle-wheel-driven hatches. So anyway, she is a firm believer in industry training. Okay, that's good. We got Peter Robertson in there. That's not the shit. I don't know, maybe Eric put that in, but that's his number. That's his number. You guys used to wake me up in the middle of the night over 25 years, but that's 10 years in my past. So, don't Eric. Anyway, I think that I quickly ran through. Sometimes I got a little tongue-tied, but we want to help you in any way we can. One of the ways I didn't mention is we have a monthly magazine, The Foghorn. For the last 3 years, we've been digital only. But if you go on Foghorn Magazine, you can read the magazines for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. I would recommend that monthly you go look at the monthly issue. It talks about a lot of these things that we're talking about here. It talks about a lot of things going on in industry. We have industry contributions, we have Coast Guard contributions, we have staff contributions. And so, if you go look at, the one coming up, Eric Christensen's gonna tell you all about, cyber. And I miss cyber. So, I didn't mention cyber. That's the project of the day, or the week. Executive order came out, changed the MTS regulations for security, challenged departments in the Coast Guard and the government to address cybersecurity. You have material from the Coast Guard, which is a policy letter. And maybe I did mention it because that's the notice of proposed rulemaking, it's 110 pages long. So anyway, I thought I didn't mention it, I guess I did. With that, thank you. I always appreciate being in the company of the Coast Guard officers. My stories are not near as interesting as yours. Mine are a little old and been around too long. But anyway, I enjoy it. And so hopefully you, industry, can relate and enjoy the company of the Coast Guard. So, okay. I think I got there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you for all the great insights and sharing all that information. Thank you, sir. So next up, I believe we have Mr. Bob Rush, preparing for inspections. Here we go. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Bob Rush, for those of you guys who don't know me, I wear multiple hats over the years. I've owned several boats. I'll stand back here so everyone can see me. I've owned several boats over the years, been dealing with Coast Guard inspections for a long time. Give everybody a brief history. Industry Night was brought back in the early 2000s, I would say, between myself, Eddie Yates, PBA, Captain Christensen, who's also retired Coast Guard as Pete said with PBA, NACO, which I was on the board of directors years ago, NACO, and Eddie and I both run our organization of New Jersey, United Movement Department. So Industry Night went away for a while. All right, we got it back. We had a lot of issues years ago. I know some of you guys in the room, I know just about all the faces. A lot of you guys had my phone on speed dial. I had Captain Anderson's phone on speed dial, Captain Cooper's phone on speed dial, Captain Teal when he was here, DC, you name it, we had everything on speed dial years ago. Over the past 15 years, things have gotten a lot better. Things have gotten a lot friendlier. I thank the Coast Guard for that. It's been a learning curve for all of us, and it's gotten better over the years for everybody. And I'd like to thank everybody right off the bat. It's only getting better every year for us. So every year is different, and every year there's something new popping along. So I get to talk about manage our inspection from our end. Okay, we all know the Coast Guard's coming. All right, know your vessel inside and out. Know all the requirements. Know your COI limits. You need one deckhand. You need two deckhands. Are you inshore, offshore? Are you based, lake bays and sounds? Make sure you got all the safety equipment that's on your COI ready to go. If you need to get your COI changed, ask. My boats that I've had, when my one boat, my COI I had to have a master operator and I had to have two deckhands on board because I had an upper deck and a lower deck. Over the years, I got mine changed. I closed off the upper deck for fishing trips, and I was able to back my deckhand down from 2 to 1. So you can get stuff changed if you ask. Okay. As I said, you know the Coast Guard's coming. Know if you're Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3. Go through your vessel again and again and make sure you have everything up to date. There is a book that we can get online. It's the 840 book. It can be downloaded. If I'm not mistaken, Sector has books they've handed out over the years as well. Go through the book. It's a safety check sheet that you guys can go down the list and you check everything off and make sure everything is up to date and everything's up to snuff. Okay. Again, you know the Coast Guard's coming. Are you ready to go? So the 840 book, get one for each boat. If you have several boats, get one for each boat. I have a total of 9 boats, but I only have 3 inspected vessels. I have 6 uninspected vessels, but I have a book for each boat. All right. Make sure you got a book. Make sure you date it. Anything that you put in the book, anything that you fix, anything that you modify, anything that you check, make sure you put a date in the book. Okay. And it shows that you're doing your due background and diligence as well in maintaining your boat all the time. No problems that need to be fixed. Know when you fixed them. Okay. Inspector comes, say, hey, I just had a problem such and such. It's all fixed. They're going to look at it most of the times, and you usually won't have a problem if you fixed it the right way. Our biggest problem that we have is expiration dates on stuff. You know, how many phone calls over the years that I've gotten, you know, prior years, not gotten many as of lately. I got an 835 for this, I got an 835 for that. Check your inspection dates. Biggest thing for a long time is eyewash and aspirin bottles. Aspirin bottles are outdated and eyewash was outdated. Easiest thing to get into CVS and get your aspirin bottle. Get an updated eyewash bottle. Make sure your drug paperwork is up to date. Have everything out ready to go. Again, you know the Coast Guard's coming. Have everything laid out for them. Have everything up in the wheelhouse. They get there, go through the paperwork, go through the safety equipment, go through lights, nav systems, bang, 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 bang. The faster you get them on, the faster they want to get off. They don't want to spend there all day. Okay? So get them on and go through it all and get them off. Biggest mistake, as I said, is us not being ready to go, thinking we're ready to go and not being ready to go. Manage your inspection. Control the inspection itself. Okay, have your deckhands on the boat ready to roll. Have your vents opened up. Have your hatches aired out. Have things clean. Have everything proper and ready to go. How many guys used to take all the life jackets and put life jackets around the rails? Anybody remember that years ago? I'm old school, so I go way back. So I don't know if some of you guys remember that, but how inspections were for a year. Every year for annual inspection, you had every life jacket out draped across the rail, and every life jacket was going through. You know, that's changed over the years, yes, but I still get mine out every inspection. I set mine up on the rail. It also gives me an opportunity at that point in time to check everything out as well. Is anything ripped, anything torn? Do I need lights on any jackets? Are the batteries good? Any tape ripped off? Okay. Anybody still got a cork jacket? I still got one. Anybody got a K-Pop jacket? Wow, K-Pops are going on. All right. Now, know what all the requirements are at the end of the inspection. Okay, if you need to ask something, ask a question. There's no harm in asking a question. The only stupid one is the one you don't ask. If you don't know something, ask the inspector. The inspector might not know either. All right, how many of you guys got a green book for the older boats? And we know what the green books are? The green books were our CFR Bibles that we had. That for all of us we had older boats, we had the green book because that was what our boat was inspected under still. Even though we fell under new regs with some of the stuff, we were still grandfathered in for old school. And I still got 3 copies of those books for old books that I've had. You know, if you still have the books, don't throw them away. It's good knowledge and it's good information. We're doing background check. Make sure all the regulatory sites are marked down. If you get an 835 or a worksheet, make sure the sites are written down. If you don't know what the sites are, ask. They'll tell you. You can look it up online as well. We all have cell phones. We all have internet service. Okay, most of the stuff is online as well. Inspectors should not email requirements if the inspection at vessel operator is not aware of. Okay, it does happen sometimes. Okay, but The inspector should not leave, and you should not be aware of anything that's coming, or anything that you have to do, or anything that you need to be aware of that needs to be fixed. And make sure you're aware of everything before the inspector leaves. Do not act upon any recommendations or good ideas from the inspector if you do not agree. We don't always agree on things with the inspector, and that's okay. We agree to disagree sometimes, but it's how you work through it. Okay? As I said earlier, when I first started, Coast Guard has gotten a lot friendlier over the past 15, 18 years, and it's been from a lot of work from a lot of different people. All right? So if you don't understand something, ask. They're human too. They have a job to do like us. Our job is to carry freight, passengers, make money. Their job is to operate and also make sure that we fall into safe compliance for carrying our passengers. Right? If I'm not mistaken, Paul, aren't we still one of the safest industries still? Sector-wise. So we've done a lot of work over the years. So a lot of our boats were older. Some of the older boats are going away. Guys are getting newer boats. Guys are getting metal boats, fiberglass boats, the whole 9 yards. So industry has been upgraded. We were at one point in time. We had, I think, the most wood T-boats out of any sector in the country. If I remember right, at one point in time, we are now not that sector, if I'm not mistaken. So, but I could be wrong. Manager inspection again. We all have gremlins, right? So every once in a while, an inspector comes down and something's not working. I've had it happen to me. All right, I checked the boat out the day before. Bilge alarms, everyone's working. Come down the next day, number one's not working. Number two's not working. Or they're all working except for one. All right, gremlins do happen. If you find something wrong when the inspector comes down, let the inspector know. Don't let him find it. Okay, tell them up front. Say, hey, I got an issue with something. Okay, most of the time they will work through it with you, and they will work with you. If they find it and you don't say something to them, shame on you. Okay, all right. Transparency works. All right. So if you do have an issue and they're coming down, go for it. As Eric Christensen said in his PowerPoint that I kind of stole from him and the Passenger Investor Association, self-reported deficiencies do not get entered in the online inspection history of the vessel. So if you self-report something, it doesn't get put in. All right. So make sure you go through your boats. Go through your boats with what's what and know what's coming. All right. Again, ask questions. Again, the only stupid one is the one that you don't ask. Don't go fixing something if you're going to repower, or if you're going to put a generator in, or if you're going to do something of that nature, change wiring. Make sure you ask first. Don't go out and buy something that all of a sudden you put it in and you can't have it on board the boat. All right. So that's run into some guys over the years and stuff. All right. Make a phone call. It saves you a hell of a lot of time making a phone call to find out what you can and can't buy right off the bat. All right. So make the phone call first. Appeals and reconsideration, which is a later topic coming up. All right. Sometimes you don't agree with the coach inspector. It's okay. Happens. I've had it happen to me over years. I mean, I've been dealing with inspections since 1986. All right. So we've been through a lot of inspectors, a lot of us. All right. Some inspectors want one thing one year, and then the following year they want something different. We've had that over the years. One guy one year was big on wiring. One guy one year was big on something else. And then one guy was big on something else. Every year was something different. If you don't always agree, you're not going to agree all the time. All right. Ask the question. Ask what all the requirements are. Ask if there was anything that changed for COI. Okay. You do have a process if you do not agree. File the appeals process and go through. The first thing you can do, if anybody's a member of PBA, one of the first things that you guys can do is you can call Eric at the PBA, and Pete had his phone number up there. All right, Eric and Pete, but Eric is probably the one of the most knowledgeable guys with T-boat regs. All right, if you need to pick somebody's brain, if you are a member of the PBA, you can call Eric or send him an email, and he will get back to you. And when Eric writes an appeals process, look out. Because Eric does everything in format that Coast Guard wants and by the book. So if you do have an appeal, and I've had appeals over years, some I've won, some I've lost. Okay, you're not going to win them all. Sometimes you do, but you do have a right, and you can not agree with the inspector all the time, and it's fair. But you also got to treat the inspector with courtesy and respect as well. Okay, that's a big thing. Over years, I've had phone calls as well. We've all seen some incidents over the years, and some of them were not good, and some of them didn't end well. So, treat them fair. You will be the same way back. Okay. Remember, it's business. It's not personal. They're not coming down and busting your chops for any known reason. They're coming down and they have a job to do. We have a job to do as well. Senior Coast Guard leadership has stated over years, you will not get retaliated against. We've had a couple of years, several years ago, we've had some issues, and as I said, I've had Captain Cooper's phone who retired, Captain Anderson, they got tired of hearing from me, because everybody had some issues with one guy at that point in time, and I seem to be the point of contact at that point in time, and thank God things have changed since. So my phone's been nice and quiet lately. So, any thoughts? I know I said a lot. Does anybody have, and I know we're not supposed to ask anything until the end, but does anybody have any thoughts from industry standards that anybody needs to get out or vent or say, or has all the inspections gone better in the past 4 or 5 years for everybody? Anybody had any major issues? Okay, good, because prior years we've had some we've had to deal with, and some we've had a bunch of questions and everything. All right, I was going to save this for later, so I guess I will, because I was supposed to introduce somebody. I will say this: if you're not a member of the PVA, it's well worth the money for signing up for the PVA. The amount of information that you get out of the PVA, the amount of assistance that you get, not only from Coast Guard standards, from booking standards, regulation standards. They don't deal a lot with fishing with fishing standards. Fishing standards is not their forte. For those of you guys that don't know, I am as well. I'm also on the Fishery Council for the state. So I'm one of the guys that you throw the darts at for setting the bag limits, all the regulations for everything as well. I've been on the council now for about 15 years, and I've been in industry for quite a while. So I fight for the industry as much as I can. Sometimes we don't always agree, but we have to keep moving forward. So I'm pretty much good to go. If nobody has any questions or any thoughts, and I'll save Brianna for later, since she's, no, never mind.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, next up, preparing for inspection through the Coast Guard perspective with Lieutenant Maria Villanueva. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. May I ask everybody who can actually to stand up, get the blood going. It's been an hour, so we all need a break.
Yes, feel free to get water, food as you need it.
We're good to go. Please be seated. Thank you. Well, good evening everyone. My name is Lieutenant Maria Villanueva. I'm currently the Domestics Branch Chief, and I'm here to talk about the preparing for U.S. Coast Guard inspection in our eyes. The inspection guide for all of you comes in 3 prongs, right? Scheduling your inspection, 2, paying your fees. And 3rd, prepping for inspection. Schedule your inspection. Under 46 CFR 176-404, you are required to at least provide us a notice for your inspection at least 30 days in advance. We do have an internal form that we use for efficiency's sake. It's the request for domestic vessel inspection form. But if you're due for a COI, you are required to fill out the CP 3752 application for inspection of U.S. vessels. We understand that things get busy, your availability for dry dock, for the yard may become busy. We will work with you. Foresightedness is a great attribute of any sailor. So please just schedule it in advance, and especially with the incoming SPV season for all the inspection, you would likely get the dates that you are available for inspection. There's a higher rate that we can accommodate you if you schedule way in advance. This is the internal the form that we have for Sector Del Bay, and this is the application for inspection of U.S. vessels. For your annual inspection, there's 3 plus 3 months and minus 3 months from your anniversary date that you can request for inspection. The drop dates for inspection though are for your COI renewal and for your dry dock dates. Number 2, pay your fees. For those who are less than 65 feet, it's $300, and if it's for over 65 feet in length, it's $600. It actually not goes straight to the Coast Guard. It goes through FinCEN. You can actually do it in 2 ways: either pay it through pay.gov or pay it through check. So please note that this entitles you to all inspection services, such as COI renewal, re-inspections, hull inspections, depth checks, damage surveys, repairs and modification inspections, and so on. I understand that sometimes FinCEN can take a while to update, so we ask that you keep your receipts. Again, we're not the IRS here. We're not keeping the books for you guys. Just let us know if you guys have made your payments through FinCEN. And you should be mailing it to this address right here. Next is prep for inspection. Who has seen CVC Form 021? It's actually a forward-facing form that you can use in connection with your 840 book. You know more of your vessel more than anybody else. So you may use this as a checklist to guide you for what we're checking as inspectors. That is done for the COI or annual inspection. And same thing goes for the dry dock checks, right? We do have CVC Work Instruction 029 available for you. Again, you know your vessels more than you do. For prepping for inspection, specifically for COI and annuals, it comes again in 3 prongs: personal training, documentation, and equipment readiness. Training, right? We train for emergencies. We cannot emphasize this more than enough. Training requirements for crew members upon being first deployed and prior to getting underway for the first time, and at least once every 3 months. These are the emergency response protocols and safety procedures of your own vessels. And last but not the least, make sure that you're also documenting this in your logs, the general description and the date of the drills that you've conducted, such as the man overboard drills, abandoned ship, or security drills for some of you. Second, documentation. Please make sure that you have all the original documents in hand when we actually go do your inspection. The documents for inspections are as such: a certificate of COI, your COI, stability letter, merchant marine credentials, your DAPI, maintenance and service records, your muster and emergency instructions, the COD for over 5 net tons, and commercial state registration for those who are less than 5 net tons, and your FCC permits and certificates. Maintenance of records. We also check your firefighting equipment servicing receipt. So please have that ready for us. Sometimes some of the CO2 have the tags as well, so we go off of those as well. And same goes with the station license and your FCC safety radio telephony certificate. Prior to our arrival, please, for CO1 and N1, make sure that you have your requisite crew on board in accordance with your CO1. If you do need 3 mates, please have the 3 mates that are there, that are normally there with you. We're going to be testing the bilges, the nav lights, the engines, the propulsions, all the overrides there is, and the radio equipment. Please have, it also helps if you test them beforehand. Be prepared to get underway as well, especially for the COIs and the third actors. And last but not the least, be professional, right? We will not see eye to eye all the time, but an eye for an eye makes everybody blind. We just make sure that if you have any issues, deal with it in a very professional manner. Our marine inspectors here are professional, and they're not, they don't deserve to be disrespected. And same thing goes from us to you. Good? Equipment readiness for dry dock. Vessels shall be on the blocks and high enough for marine inspectors to inspect underneath the vessel, never on the sling. This is that way we can crawl underneath and check all the sea valves within 6 inches of the water line and below. Please also remove all the sea strainers and clean the hull, but do not paint over it before our arrival. Next, clean all water and oily water from the bilges. We should be doing this anyway to begin with. Remove all deck plates for easy access to the bilges. It actually helps me because I really get into the bilges so quickly. Remove any sealing that prevents inspection of the interior hull. And we will inspect items such as your shaft bearings, and propellers and rudders as well. This is the top deficiencies that can be mitigated, and this is actually from CVC's website. The dead end wires, deteriorated hull material, inoperable bilge alarm, portable hand bilge pump missing or inoperable, FCC station license missing, nav lights inoperable, light guards missing, expired EPIRB hydrostatic release, and expired first aid kit medication. Again, these are easily done, right? And those are the top deficiencies over the years that we've seen as your marine inspectors. Question?
Thank you so much. Okay, just before we get started, do you mind inspections of the room? Do you guys want to take 5, grab water, sandwiches? All right, let's take 5.
That's our secret.
I remember
Industry has
What I would say, make sure you know of any upcoming expirations that you're excited to pay, this expires in a month. And you do inspection and your battery is ready to go, that's satisfactory.
That's why there's a need for a battery.
Yeah. Okay, you know where it's from there.
Right, yeah, so as long as it's out there, okay, got it. They brought you up. They brought you up in that station. I know, I got my hand in that.
I didn't know if you were scanning all
Seriously, crap.
Last year we got the follow up. Last year, I was driving back. Oh, I should have told you that. Yeah.
And brought it back. They don't know what they want, so I told them I think they want, and then I found out what they want. So it's just like, brought it back.
I heard.
You go, you're going to.
I just want to say thank you for giving us the great. So it's good to have you.
Why everybody's service and let them on the Ben and I were on first name basis. I called Ben, he was like, oh, what do you want now, Bob?
Emergency management, strategy shop, architect, for that sector Virginia, sector Boston, San Diego, 100 time, obviously. Yeah, all the usual comes out. Of course, Del Bay's the best.
Thank
No, I'm not sit back
Swinging 3-quarter into 5. Rebuilding part of the church.
I was working in the church. But I was thinking about.
I mean, I like it.
Ready for our next presentation. This is Paul and Annette, the Streamline Inspection Program.
This is actually going to be pretty easy and pretty quick, because I'm going to show you tell it today. What I do is jump into the SIP, the Streamline Inspection Program, which has been discussed, I don't know how many times today, brought up. Show of hands, anyone recall what the Streamline Inspection Program is, or actually heard of it? Heard of it. Steve, nothing. That's what I thought. Before I get into it, though, public service announcement. Belmar fleet. The 71 bridge has been secured in the up position. It's going to remain that way for at least 4 to 6 months until they get it back in service. Yeah, now you can go fish. Yeah. The DeLorean will make sense or not, I don't care. Cool, Jeff, so I went for it. So I'm going to go off my notes because I have no idea what Zach did to mine. So the Streamline Inspection Program, it came online in '99. It's an alternative inspection program. Coast Guard is trying to find creative ways to simplify our process, manage our resources, and to make sure boats are in compliance and has other opportunities. NAVIC that came out in 299. Templated everything, very simple. What it does is it has SMS built into the program. Kind of like ISO 1000. Seaboats didn't like it because it was massive. It took a lot of work. It was ornery, difficult, and really wasn't a return on investment. The templates are a company action plan. Okay. And a vessel action plan. Within these are the tools and resources to manage your vessel, the safety systems throughout, keep the PMS in place, and do the safety management protocols. But it engages the Coast Guard. It gives us a really quick reference, come in, identify the vessel systems that you've been maintaining on your own, and cuts to the chase so that we can confirm. It's really an audit process. So, you heard SMS is coming. There's already a advanced notice of proposed rulemaking out. Soon enough, it'll be required. SIP is an SMS. The idea is to get ahead of the game. If you already have an SMS in place, by the time the regs come down the pipe, you're not chasing your tail trying to get back up to speed. And the nice thing about it is it engages the Coast Guard to get to know your boat from soup to nuts, as well as the vessel owner to know his boat before things start escalating, becoming problematic, saving some money in the meantime. And that's going to cut to the chase, to the show and tell. So fortunately, actually looking at PBA site, I was able to find a company that's using SMS, but it managed to put into an electronic format. So that whole honoriness of the paperwork and having to build each of your checklists and manage it and maintain it, remember to put it into a calendar to make sure that you took care of it, is done for you. And that's why I stole Bob's thunder earlier, so that I can introduce Brianna on my own for the show and tell portion of today's presentation.
This is where I stand up.
Yes.
So I'm the show and tell. I'm gonna, you're staying, right? Okay, great. Hi, everybody. I am Rhiannon Silvacci. I am the Chief Revenue Officer over at Vessel Vanguard. Flew in this morning from Southwest Florida. Woo! I prepared for 5 minutes because that's what I was told I had, 5 minutes. So I hope you guys don't want a minute more. That's what you're gonna get. I'm gonna give you a quick description of who I am personally and who I am professionally, and I'm gonna show you what I've done with my software. Grew up in Southwest Florida on the waters. My dad is a service manager for Sea Ray Boats at Deep Blue Marina off of McGregor Boulevard down in Fort Myers. That is where I grew up. Teaching boats with my mom, seeing my dad come home, driving his butt every night with a turbulent light. That is just what I've known. I fish where I'm happy. That is my personal life in the marine industry. Once I came back from college, I jumped into managing a powerboat racing team. We had the Bass and the Hooters boat. We doubled down as a Mercury engine repair center. That's just what I've known. The guys that were my dad's techs were now my techs. That's what we did. Right about 2008, our throttle passed away in a bad accident up in St. Pete. And right about that same time, disposable income was disappearing. Did we win?
In 1776.
Okay. So we ended up putting our race boat on cinder blocks. A lot of other people at that time were putting their recreational boats on cinder blocks. So looking for a different direction on my side, I was growing up, wanted to go into a professional career move, and I actually stepped into aviation technology. So me and my partner now We started an aviation software company that was maintenance tracking for business, corporate, and private aviation. So I cannonballed into a very regulated space, and SMS was my ballgame. So I stepped into a space where it was very paper-written, lots of heavy-duty workflows that were really antiquated, and I was providing a digital and electronic solution to the safety management requirements for the FAA and Transport Canada. Did that successfully. We sold that company in 2020. We had about a year and a half of non-compete. During that time, I had my 24-foot Key West, my center console that I fish on. He has a way bigger boat. And we were still having the conversations. I had my development team. We knew we wanted to do something together again. So we purchased 2 previous existing companies. We had Wheelhouse and Vessel Vanguard. There was an LTE and a Pro software. Great software systems, great reputation, kind of antiquated, really kind of simple as far as some of the coding in the back end. We decided to grab those, and we took our development team from aviation and said, let's do it again, but let's make an impact. So here I am dividing my passion, where I grew up, and I love this industry, and what I can do really, really well when it comes to a business move. So, where's my clicker? This guy right there.
That's it.
There you go.
Oh, you're the Vanna White.
So,
Go to the other side.
Vessel Vanguard is a maintenance and safety management tracking software solution, and we specialize in the safety management and the SIP support. So how does going digital with your SIP benefit the operation? It's obviously been a topic of conversation. That's how Paul and I got to meet each other, and we kind of did that, like, are we becoming best friends? Because we were talking so fast over each other. But some of the bullet points of just staying on top of your maintenance tasks, being proactive versus reactive. There's a lot of reaction in the industry. So just really being able to stay on top of it, being able to see the information that you need and react and plan and compliance. Ensure safety through record keeping, being able to quickly review all of your historical compliance, increasing your ROI. There seems to be this mindset that by bringing in some digital solutions that it's going to cost a lot of money and it's going to hurt the business, when in fact the opposite is true, because it does streamline your workflows and it gives you a lot of visibility and you're actually able to increase a lot of your operations. Keeping up with regulatory compliance, embrace change as an organization. The financial savings will cover the cost of a digital implementation for several years to come. And obviously, removing the risk of fines. So we have a couple snapshots of the regulations in the inspection program, but I thought the best way to show you would be to actually show you what it would look like if you were involved with me. So if you want to go for it just a little bit more. And the next one should be a video. Zach, how do we get it?
No, go back. Just once you're on that slide, just click forward once. We'll start moving, and you'll see your mouse move.
Wait, what?
To turn on the animation, you just have to click once when you're in the front of the slide. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Don't touch that. Don't touch that.
Yeah, it's going. It's going.
All right, so this is the back end of my system. Somebody tells me they're going to come on board. They do want to implement an SMS. And so my questions are, what are your subchapters? So me and I go into your SMS backend. We identify what your subchapter is. We put in the effective date, your annual inspection date, and we hit save change. We go to our dashboard. This is one of our boats. This is Fire Island Ferries Explorer. So you can see Neely here's all of his upcoming tasks. I go right up to the safety tab. Here is the subchapter K for his passenger vessels. All of his chapters. That was about 45 seconds. And it takes all of your requirements. It'll break it down into your subchapters. As you click into each one of your subchapters, it'll break down and give you each individual inspection criteria. Once you click on there, it pulls it into a digital checklist. Sorry, pre-recorded this. It's equipment. The digital checklist will pop up. It gives you the breakdown of each one of those criteria steps. As you go through, it is time stamping and it grabs your signature as well. If there's a deficiency, once you click on your report deficiency, it will auto put in your deficiency code, your description, date it was discovered. You can identify the individual initiating this. The minute that that deficiency is reported, it will go right over to your due list. So you can have that scheduled out for completion. Once it's completed, It will go directly into your corrections report, and you're able to pull that up. There we go. And there is your streamlined inspection program deficiency report. So in under 2 minutes, we were able to put together an entire program and have all of your outlined requirements and how to comply with them. Most of the operators I work with, everybody's doing their safety management system in some way, shape, or form, but it's usually in stacks of paper. Some of it's an Excel spreadsheet, some of it's in a Google Drive, some of it's at somebody's house that's working part-time. It seems to be kind of everywhere. What this is doing is consolidating it and just allowing you to quickly get to the information and then report on it if you need to, but you have that backbone to support you going forward.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the whole point, I just want to circle this back up. The whole point about the electronic format is this SIP is huge. It's got everything built into it, and you've got the checklist that you do your inspections on, what systems you're looking at, the details about them. What you do if you find that there's a deficiency, you record that and you do some sort of corrective action and you go back in. Everything's documented. It's a big package of data. It's tremendously valuable to you. It lets you know, helps you budget, you know what systems are going down, and it gives you reminders when filters need to be changed, the whole kit and caboodle. But to do it by paper it's a monster for a mom and pop organization, a one vote operator. But by putting it into an electronic format, now we have the opportunity to have something that's kind of like at your fingertips. And I have to do the grand caveat that I'm not endorsing one particular vendor or another. But this is a far cry from the way this was originally envisioned back in 1999. It's wonderful. So the process for when the Coast Guard gets engaged in it, when you come into the SIP program, you identify how you're going to assure your vessel is going to be operated in full compliance with the regulations. You work with a Coast Guard re-inspector to establish that you get accepted, enrolled into the SIP program. And we come and do an audit. It's not a full-scale 840 book inspection. We'll look at different components, verify that they in fact are being managed in the way that they're supposed to be, confirming that they're correct, documented properly, and repair's been made properly. And then we go away. So it streamlines everything for everybody, and it's much more collaborative than the traditional format when we come out. The other benefit you get, and Pete hit on this earlier, if you're in SIP, that whole risk-based inspection regime that includes the tiering of vessels goes away because you're in a quality management program. You're already considered top operator, and God bless you. And you're on top of the inspection of your vessel. It's not just one day a year, the day before we show up, you get in compliance. You're managing this so that you're in compliance 365. It's really nice. And the cost benefits, that's a business decision on your part, but I can only see positives from that. The one thing that I want to also caveat is that SIP dry docks aren't part of it, not for the Coast Guard anyway. You can certainly be in your program. This is your tool. But as far as we go, our inspection regime on the dry dock side, that remains the same. That's unchanged. So I'm sorry, you had questions?
Two. Was there a phone out? First off, for the guys that, for the older guys that my partner doesn't have a computer.
Absolutely. There's a dedicated iOS app. So we have Apple, iPhone, and iPad. We don't have Android just yet.
And number two, I asked you this earlier, will the system talk with this, or will this talk with the missile system?
It's actually recognized in missile. Now, they don't talk to each other, no. I mean, this is a third-party system.
Right.
And there may be other third parties that are different than ours. But as far as capturing the inspections we do, the audits we do, with reference to the SIP and World boats, and we do capture that in missile. And there is a line item within missile that states that you're an SIP boat.
If you don't mind, what information would you be curious about that, Sharon?
If you don't have to double record stuff, if there's stuff in the vessel's history that you want to download stuff, and aspects like that.
Part of the problem with that, I would see, is that missile is our observation.
Right.
I think one of the other things you and I talked about was there's another side of it where it's not just supporting the operators and maintaining the safety of the vessels, but the communication tool that this provides. When you have different officers that come on site, you can actually see what was the last conversation, where did it end. It just makes it very transparent, and that comes up a lot, that there's a lot of communication that gets lost. Everybody's really busy, and especially in this industry, so it just allows for a lot of continuity as well. So.
Yeah, it kind of flattens out that transfer season when the next inspection can pick up where the one that just departed was and know where they are. That's it.
Paul, is this a Coast Guard approved system?
So the SIP program that you implement is Coast Guard approved.
You
Now, how
gotta
you
follow
go about-
299, is that what you're saying? Follow NAVIC 299?
NAVIC 299, all the components that are within Part 8 of 46 CFR and NAVIC 299, which is the guidance. As long as your program meets all that, and this one is implemented as an SIP program on vessels outside of our area. So they met the mark elsewhere. So it's a really performance standard, not something that we approve. You're not going to get a Q spec for a particular piece of software.
But it
You
meets the
write-
functional requirements of 299?
This one does apparently, because they've got that qualification in Long Island Sound, right? And I think you got another AOR as well. So,
Yeah, we've got a good amount of North American general covered.
so
If you have any questions, follow on my cards. I had to get a little bit early. I'm actually heading to Long Island to see our Explorer buddy. But I'm grateful that you have a chance that you invited me and I'm able to be here. Thank you, Paul, so much for reaching out.
Thank
It's
you.
really, really nice to be here. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have permission for repairs, modifications, alterations with Mr. Ed Hopewell and a JD. Here you go.
Good evening, everyone. Hollis Connick.
Oh, I'm at Oval.
Thank you all for being here. This is some familiar faces and new faces for myself, so appreciate y'all's time tonight. We're gonna be hitting on permission for repairs, modifications, and alterations. I'm gonna start off with immediately going into the CFR. So 46 CFR 176, decimal 700. Repairs or alterations to the whole machinery or equipment that affect the safety of the vessel must not be made without the approval of the cognizant OCMI, except during an emergency. What we're kind of looking for, as Bob touched on, please ask questions, communication's key. Repairs or alterations can't be made without our dialogue. If made during an emergency, just notify the Coast Guard as soon as possible. That's all we're looking for. Please reach out to us by phone or email. More or less to come, I promise. So continuing on with the CFR, examples of alterations, repairs that affect the safety of the vessel is replacement of repair deck, hull or structural members, damage, repair, or replacement other than replacement in kind of electrical wiring, fuel lines, fuel tanks, boilers, pressure vessels, steering, propulsion, and power supply systems. Also, any alterations for stability, repair, alterations of life-saving, fire detection, or fire extinguishing equipment. All these are alterations, repairs, and modifications. So please contact us.
215.
And continued, so the owner or managing operator shall submit drawings, sketches, or written specifications describing the details of any proposed alterations to the cognizant OCMI. Proposed alterations must be approved by the OCMI before work is started. We're not looking for anything extravagant. What we're looking for is just a proposal. We can go from there if there's any suggestions or alterations that we need before you guys start work. The OCMA may require an inspection and testing whenever a repair or alteration is undertaken. For example, even a drawing on a napkin is acceptable.
in some cases. So let's talk about replacement in kind. That phrase gets thrown around a lot. Unfortunately, not everything that looks like replacement in kind is replacement in kind. We need to find something with the same technical specifications. That means, if it's a generator, the same weight, same kilowatt output. In order for it to be replacement in kind, it's gonna be something that will need to come through our office. The OCMI is gonna make that determination. So even if it looks like it's replacement in kind, make sure you contact us, make sure you're talking to us, make sure that you're communicating with us, because communication is key. The other thing we want to talk about is major conversions. Everybody may not be familiar with these. These are when you're making major changes to the vessel, things that change the carrying capacity, dramatically extend the life of the vessel, change the dimensions of the vessel, the tonnage of the vessel, types of vessel, things like that. One thing to note with major conversions is if you are old T, it is very likely to trigger a change to new T for whatever section you're changing. Change in a generator where you need to change all the wires as well, very likely going to have to upgrade those to new T standards. That's one example. Anything that substantially prolongs the life of the vessel. This was cool. This is a 1910 sailboat that they pretty much redid the whole thing. So if you ever get bored and want to watch that, that's a good thing. Make sure that you're communicating with us. If you ever try to do a repair before you talk to us, and then we come out there, it makes not only your life a lot harder, but it makes our life a lot harder. Going through, we want to work with you. We want to be able to get you where you want to be. We want to let you do the things that you want to do. We just need to make sure everything's in line with what the regulatory guidance is and what the practice is. Here's some more examples of times where you might want to contact us. I talked about generator. I don't know why that's been stuck in my head for the 2 weeks that I've been looking at this PowerPoint, trying to figure out what I'm going to say. Cropping and renewing plate. We'll guide you on what you need to provide us, how much depth you need to go into, but if you don't start the process, we can't guide you on that. We can't give you the knowledge to give us the information that we need. So just the point that we're trying to drive home is communicate with us. Make sure you're talking with us. We'll work with you. We'll try to get everything that we need. Make sure that you guys get everything that you need as well. And this is not actually a break.
Thank you, Mr. Bone. Any questions before we proceed on? Anyone need a water sandwich? Next up, we have the interim final rule with Mr. Bafia and Lieutenant J.G. Samuels.
I had this.
All right, so good evening, everyone. My name is John Bafia. This is Lieutenant Sam Rice. IFAR, if you guys were here at the last couple SPV Industry Nights, this is my topic that I present. So most of you guys will probably know this rule. So the interim final rule for SPV fire safety came out in December 2021. Obviously due to the Conception fire that happened off the coast of California. So with that, the final rule came out and really focused on vessels that have a certificate for coastwise, oceans, or having any overnight accommodations for passengers. So with that, I think 15 out of 20 vessels or 15 to 20 vessels were affected in our AOR with this. But I just want to thank for those that were affected by this. Thank you for being proactive on it. I know it was a lot of questions, a lot of issues, concerns, back and forth with MSC, trying to get you guys in the right direction, but I think we came a long way when this first came out in a couple of years, so it's really thanks to you guys for helping us out. So I'm just gonna kind of backtrack and kind of discuss what the 8 rules that came out, and then Lieutenant Rice is just gonna go over the upcoming means of escape policy. So you can hit the next one. Right, so as I mentioned, right, the conception fire, this is how these interim rules came out in 2021. So the 8 rules came out, focusing on fire safety. All right, so fire detection, all right, instead of having just a regular smoke detector, now we have integrated fire smoke detectors. So if one goes off, they all go off. I know that was, when that first came out, there was a bunch of different brands out there. So I know you guys were sending us a bunch of different styles, different company. So thank you for being proactive on that. It really helped us out. Fire suppression, we talk about extinguishers, right? You go ahead. All right, so watch monitoring, this was another touchy one. I know there's a lot of questions, a lot of people asking what type to get. I know the IFR rules specify it has to meet 3 criteria, which most of you guys that were affected by this, it did, so thank you for that. All right, so hazardous items, right? Any hazmat on board, right? Safe handling, where you guys storing it at. Training program, kind of mentioned earlier, right? Crew, right? Firefighting, that stuff should be logged when you guys are doing this stuff. And then passengers, right? If you have passengers, how are they going to get out, right? Sure, girls.
All right, so now moving into kind of our focus for the end of 2023 and moving into 2024 is our means of escape for our small passenger vessels. So ideally, our vessels are supposed to have 2 unobstructed means of escape that are not located directly above or dependent on a berth. There are exceptions to this, and we will discuss. But the policy letters that you all have or picked up when you were walking in kind of detail these regulations that were finalized the end of December, but will end up trickling into 2024 for vessel compliance. So the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act of 2024, allowed the delay implementation of having 2 means of escape on our vessels. It's geared towards our overnight fishing charters, but thankfully the vessels that were affected in our AOR were overnight fishing charters. So they have until April 1st of 2024 to now come into compliance. So this is our policy letter here. To reiterate, our overnight fishing charters have until April 1st, 2024 to be in compliance with the dual means of escape. This means that the vessels impacted have to have submitted plans by April 1st of 2024 or currently be in compliance with the 2 means of escape. The OCMI at their discretion may delay the enforcement of that regulation until January 1st, 2026, so long as the plans have been submitted by April 1st of 2024. This is our exemption table that's listed in the policy letter. So we had a couple vessels that were able to comply with the stipulations that are outlined here in the table 3 of the policy letter. So if there's a deck area of less than 30 meters square, no source of fire, far from machinery or fuel sources, and the single means isn't a ladder or scuttle, if they were able to check all of those boxes and fit into that criteria, the vessel was allowed an exemption to have the single means of escape. And we had 2 vessels that fell into that category. So to reiterate, in terms of our means of escape, we had 6 vessels that were impacted in our AOR. 2 were able to comply with that table 3 in the policy letter. 2 are currently going through and modifying their vessels to have 2 means of escape. And we are still working with the 2 remaining vessels to find a way forward for them. And that's it for us. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. All right. Next up, we have CMBO Pete Golden on the appeals and reconsideration process.
Good evening, everyone. Recognize many people here. I've been at this unit off and on since 2017, so I've probably inspected most of your votes in one time or another. 6 of these industry nights before. This will be my last one. I'm retiring this year. That's why they gave me a deal. All right, 46 CFR 1. Any person directly affected by a decision or action of an OCMI may, after requesting reconsideration of decisions by the cognizant OCMI, make a formal appeal of that decision or action to the district commander. So notice there are 2 levels to this. The lower level is the OCMI sector. The OCMI is, of course, Captain Bloom. And then that's called reconsideration, and then the appeal is actually to the district. In this presentation, I'm going to keep using the word appeal because it's just easier, but just realize you have to go to the lower level first. Okay, why appeal in 835? 1, you think the inspector was wrong. It could be a bad regulation. Some regulations are very, very clear, but a lot of subchapter T and a lot of old T are extremely gray. So if there is room to work with, you can appeal that. A lot of times, especially when you talk about old T versus new T, applicability can be a problem. Many of the votes here I know are from before 1996, and where does old T and new T take place? And a lot of times, you think the inspector misinterpreted the requirements. Okay, second reason to appeal. Sometimes when we issue 835, we will restrict your operation. That could be prior to carrying passengers, it could be prior to credit TriDot, it could be daylight operations only, something like that. If you think that that requirement is unreasonable, you can appeal that requirement. And then third, you want to fix the problem in a different way. You think the 835 has been prescriptive on how they want you to repair the issue, and you think that it's either too costly or perhaps it's just not wise. All right, missive appeals. This has already been talked to by both PBA and by Bob Rush. If you appeal, you'll be targeted by Coast Guard Marine inspectors. I'll tell you right now, in my experience, that's not true. I've not seen that. 2, you need to hire a marine consultant to appeal. I'm telling you that right now. Now, if you call me up in 5 months when I'm retired, can you rewrite this, appeal this 835 for me? I'll probably say, yeah, sure, and then I'll give you a bill. I'll say this because I know a marine consultant is in the room right now.
He's out here.
He stepped out.
Yeah.
Okay. Jim Klein's in the back of the room. Someone with like a lot of knowledge of how the Coast Guard operates from the inside and knows the regs really well might be more successful in an appeal, but it doesn't mean you can't appeal it yourself. All the reg says it just needs to be submitted in writing, and that includes an email. All right. Step 1, as I said before, you can request reconsideration from the OCMI. You have 30 days from the moment that the 835 is issued to request reconsideration from the OCMI. All you need to do is just write an email. That's all it takes. They've already put the email address a couple of times. I'll put it up again. The OCMI, as part of that, if we have restricted your vessel operations, that's a time to request that that restriction be lifted or mitigated in some way. Now, if the OCMI, after reconsideration, comes back and says, no, this is when you have an actual appeal goes to District 5, the Coast Guard District. As you know, the entire country is broken into different districts. Our district is District 5, based out of Virginia. It's run by an admiral. Captain Higgins Bloom answers to that admiral. It will go to their prevention department to process that appeal. During that, the District 5 can stay the effect of the OCMI decision. You need to request that if it goes that high. And if by some chance you don't like what comes from district, you can go all the way to the commandant to what we call CBC, the headquarters unit that handles prevention. All right. So again, you just have to write an email just to make it. This is something I learned long, long ago in a criminal justice class. A simple acronym called IRAC, which is Issue, Regulation, Argument, Conclusion, about how to write a legal argument. Let's talk about it real quick. I issue, state what you want to do, what the problem is in one sentence. Regulation, just copy and paste out of ECFR or Cornell law. Argument, say why, and conclusion. For example, on February 1st, we were issued a deficiency by Chief Warrant Officer Golick because some wiring was not listed as marine UL cable. He cited 46 CFR 183, which states cable and wire for power and lighting circuits must be UL marine cable. However, this vessel was built in 1977, and this wiring is original to the boat. Regulations in place before 1996 only require that cables be stranded. Therefore, as a conclusion, this regulation does not apply. Now, any email that you send is going to be the beginning of a negotiation. You're going to send an email, we're going to send an email back. It's going to go back and forth until you have a resolution. So other things to add into your appeal, if we restricted operations and you want to continue operating, offering up some way of risk mitigation will give us a reason to let you keep operating. So for example, you're going to stay within 20 miles of shore instead of going all the way out in the ocean. Or for example, fire detection was out in the engine room, you're going to take trips with an extra crewman whose job is just to check the engine room and make sure there's no fire, or maybe add some extra equipment to make it safer. Get us to a point where we can say, yeah, you're safe to operate while we consider it for you fix the problem. Another way to deal is offer alternatives. If it's something that you want to delay, like you're in the middle of the season, so you're operating daily and it's going to take you a few days to fix it. Normally, the maximum we can issue deficiency for is 30 days. You can request, hey, I want to fix it in 3 months. I think we're safe to operate till then. Code of observe, if we found corrosion on your boat during a dry dock and you don't think it's worth cropping and renewing, you can request to, for example, clean it, paint it. We're just going to watch it, see if it gets worse. That's something as a possibility. And you can also try to apply a different standard, though this one does have it's a bit of a double-edged sword. If you come, there's a lot of different marine welding standards, for example. We use a couple of pieces of Coast Guard guidance for it. If you come to us with a different standard, for example, that allows a smaller than 18 by 18 insert, we might allow you to it, but we're going to hold you to whatever that standard says. So that could be a double-edged sword. So know the standard before you do it. And that kind of goes into something else about appeals. There's regulations, but there's also Coast Guard policy and Coast Guard guidance. Regulations, yeah, sometimes you can appeal it, sometimes you can't. Coast Guard policy and Coast Guard guidance is not regulation. That's where there's a lot more room for the OCMI. Outcomes. So the good, yeah, we can overturn it, we can change it, we can give more time. OCMI's authority on this is pretty broad. The absolute worst case scenario is that we're going to uphold the deficiency. So if we've already issued the deficiency, you appeal it and you write a bunch of emails and we go back and forth, the absolute worst case is that we're just going to uphold it. We're probably giving you the more time as that correspondence is ongoing to take care of it. But good or bad, get it in writing. So I know that a frustration that many of you have is that an inspector will go on it 1 year and say, this is fine. And then the next year, another inspector comes on and says it's not. If you do an appeal, a reconsideration or appeal, and send it up there, you should expect and make sure you get an email back saying that, yes, we're granting reconsideration, and make sure that it includes someone in authority as a unit. If I send you an email back and say, hey, I after talking to you on the phone, I think this is fine, and Tony Hertel goes on it next year, Tony can do whatever he wants. But if I write you an email that says Commander Min, who has OCMI authority, said it's fine, then 10 years from now, it would have to go back up to that OCMI for them to write it up. And any questions? And again, you've seen this email probably 10 times tonight already. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Right. Next up, we have Mr. Dave Umberger from our Sector Command Center going over emergency notifications and search and rescue.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Dave Umberger, working the Command Center up in Philly. My lawyer says I have to do a couple of caveats before I start. I'm not paid for public speaking, except on the radio sometimes. And I'm going to throw out some acronyms from time to time. If somebody gets one they don't know, just throw something at me or shoot your hand up, and I will try and explain it. But they keep me locked up in there, and I don't get out of there. So, all these people in here are here to help prevent you from having a problem, and they do a great job. And in spite of everyone's efforts, occasionally bad things happen. And when they do, they're gonna call us. We're gonna be in the command center with 24/7 and 365 days. And I'm gonna give you a little overview of our system there. Contacting us. Phone numbers, if you're within cell range, obviously you can use those numbers. However, we really stress the channel 16. If it's a marine casualty or something like that, sure, phone is great. But anything search and rescue related, channel 16 is the way to go. I know channel 16 is a mess in the summertime when you all are operating, but it's one of the first things we do when we get a request for assistance is we'll draft a UMIB, and we're gonna let everyone know what your problem is. There might be somebody nearby that can help you. It's an urgent marine information broadcast. If you're in doubt, you don't have our number, radio's not working, you're in phone range, 911. Part of our qualifications, we go out to all the 911 centers, we visit them, we work with them. They have some equipment to assist us, they know the information we need, and they will certainly forward your request on to us. And they will also activate the state police in whatever area you're in, as will we, if we get the notification. The command center up there on the watch floor, there's always 4 people on watch 24/7. We have command duty officer, that's what I stand, the CDO watch. We have an operations unit controller. That's the person that's doing the search and rescue. They're coordinating the response. You're going to be using our computer search planning tool. If there's a search that's going to be required, they're pretty much, they are the most seasoned person in the SAR watch. The CDO is a supervisor. I joke I'm the time life operator. All I do is make conference calls with everybody and get everybody talking. I should have saved that communication slide from Ed's presentation, because communication is key in getting us the information so that we can get it out to the correct people. Situational unit, that's a person you're probably going to be dealing with as vessel owners. If you call during the day or you can't get a hold of somebody in one of the offices and you need somebody, call that number for the SU and they will brief up and they'll make sure they get a hold of the right person to help you. The CU, that's the person you're going to be hearing doing the weather broadcasts, regularly scheduled broadcasts, UIBs, any other broadcasts. Little note here, that is the most junior person on the watch floor. So I know it's a trial by fire. You learn. I mean, you're going to learn. So please be patient with them. If you need to talk to someone else in the watch floor, by all means, let them know, and they will bump it up and brief us. They listen to about between 48 and 52 speakers. All of them are located up there in Philadelphia. They're remoted, and they have the eyesight capability. Our area responsibility, you all probably know all of this. Our stations, Manasquan, Barnegat, Lang City, Cape May, Indian River, Philly. The summer season, there's a slight change to this slide. What we used to call the station smalls are now going to be forward operating bases, I believe they termed the phrase for them. What that means is there's probably not going to be a Coast Guard boat there. The Coast Guard is suffering from personnel shortages as well as everyone else, and we can't man all those station smalls and keep the parent stations open at the same time. So if you operate out of one of those, Shark River's already closed, Beach Haven, Little Egg, Great Egg, TI, Fortescue, Warrenville's been closed, Salem. If you operate in the river or the upper bay, all of them are not going to be manned. So getting a Coast Guard asset out to you, it's going to take some time. So the faster you notify us, the better. Rescue 21, that's our VHF network for communications, and we have towers the following locations: Manasquan, Tuckerton, Cape May, Salem, Swedesboro, Burlington. We have a couple of gap fillers, one up the Maurice River and one in Gagsboro, which is up the Indian River, but they have very small footprints. Those blue rings you see are the advertised range for the contract for Rescue 21, It's rated for 1 watt radio, 20 nautical miles at a height of 6 feet. Of course, all of you have radios more powerful and higher than that, but that's the advertised minimum. GBH is out of our AOR technically, but we share that. We have access to that. It's in northern Maryland. The gap fillers, like I said, they're just small footprints, and they're channel 16 only. Each of those towers has at least 4 radios on it. So we have 4 speakers, and then we have intercoms with all the stations. So the process for notifying us, initial report, get the information to us, appropriate method, 911, fear and cell range, mayday if it's a distress situation. That will get people's attention. We're going to gather that information, and like I said, we disseminate that to them. If it's prevention, if it's search and rescue, we're on it. We're going to notify anybody and anybody that can assist. We work closely with a lot of OGAs, fire departments, police departments, New Jersey State Police, DENRAC over in Delaware. There are a lot of agencies we work with. We meet with them regularly. We have provider meetings with them as well. We work with all the towing agencies, CTOW, Boat US, we work with them a lot as well. And we will get an appropriate asset moving. We're going to send out a broadcast. Again, this is why it's important to be on 16. So we can get somebody out there, and you never know what capability might be very close to you. So we might have a pump that you could use and get there a lot faster than we can. For a helicopter launch, we have to go to D5. It's not going to delay your response, but we have to make a phone call and then get the helicopter spooled up. It's going to take a little time to get out. If it's for medevac, are there any dive vessels here? Dive boats, a lot of information. And I know you're going to be busy when you're passing this to us. If you get someone else to give us the information, dive profile is very important. And anything on their dive computer, and medical history, anything like that, getting us information. Rest assured, while you're passing that, time is going to seem like it's standing still. We're moving. We got stuff going. We contact flight surgeon, helicopter, boats, whatever. We will have things moving. So don't think that just because we keep asking silly questions that we're not taking action. So how can you help us to help you? Have a plan. 6-packs, you'd be surprised how many 6-packs go out and family members, significant others do not know what their friend or spouse is doing. Overnight trips, and they think they're going to be back that night, and they overnight. So what you can do, make sure somebody competent knows what your plan of route is, where you're going, where you're fishing. It may not be one location, maybe multiple locations. Share that with somebody. Set up a time when they're going to call us. If you're not back by a certain time, let us know. We would much rather have them call us so that we can do some call outs. Again, you're on channel 16 and say, hey, we're running late, fishing was great, or lost an engine or whatever. I would highly encourage carrying an EPIRB. They're indispensable. The new EPIRBs have GPSs, and there is zero delay getting that. There's satellite, goes to AFRCC, D5 district in Portsmouth, and to us. It sounds like it's a laborious, laborious relay of information, but we get it fast. And again, always be on 16, and even beyond that 20 miles, like I said, the range is easily more than 20 miles. Depending on the propagation, we can bust out 60, 70 miles or more. If there is an emergency, make sure everybody stays with the vessel. Our computer search planning has been throwing a lot of data in there for searching. It's a lot easier to find a vessel, even if it's capsized or something horrible happens, than it is to find a single head in the water. If somebody hails Mayday and you guys fix a problem, or it wasn't as bad as you thought, please respond to us and let us know. No one's in trouble. We've had lots of kids grab a radio and think it's a toy or a game, and they'll say Mayday, and every distress call we treat as a real deal. Even if it's a kid and they're laughing and they say something stupid, we treat it as a real deal, because you never know, we can't be wrong. You can't be wrong one time when somebody's in distress. So if somebody accidentally puts out that distress call, please let us know, hey, it's no longer distress, we fixed the situation, or, the apprehension has dropped. So don't be afraid to let us know. That's all I have. If there are any questions, sir.
I got one 911 call. I don't know if we ever got, several years ago, we had a vote, somebody was seasick and dialed 911. And it set off a catastrophic chain of events for that. And, the substation got in, everything was over-escalated, and bottom line was as it got escalated, the master of the vessel was not taken into account. So has that been resolved over the years? I don't think I've heard any more incidences since, but that's always 911. If somebody's seasick and you got somebody inside the cabin and they are seasick, they won't all go no matter what. They've called 911 before, so how you guys handle that situation now?
I can't say that it will not happen again. I've had it happen multiple times, and so you're not alone, and everyone will be a case by case. We've had other 911 calls where somebody, felt they were being held prisoner or against their will, or somebody, the variety of calls that we get up there is amazing. But for that, we're always going to err on the side of safety. We've had patients pass out, but it was because they're seasick. And what do we do? Well, we contact the flight surgeon, give them all the vitals that we have and can get, and certainly we would take the master's information and pass that on. But it's not our decision there to evacuate or not evacuate, but we're always going to decide on safety, err on the side of safety. Sir.
And just to add up to what Bob said there, if I'm not mistaken, that station, was Manasquan Station, made sure that, or told the operator of the vessel, the master of the vessel, to return to the dock immediately. And he didn't feel that would have been necessary for this person to be sick. So I know it's a judgment thing, and
right.
Who's right, and who's wrong, and that's a tough answer.
It is, and put yourself in our shoes. If the person, you don't know the medical history, and maybe they're dehydrated, and they have a stroke, or they go into coma, or something worse happens, and Coast Guard did dial 911. So we don't make that decision in a vacuum. We will certainly take the information from the captain, but we're going to be briefing flight surgeons who are trained in that, and other medical personnel, and ultimately the decision is going to be the safest one. Sure.
Well, to follow that on, then the Coast Guard, local Coast Guard, wants to do an inspection of the vessel and gives you, I forget the name, a form that you have to fill out. Okay.
692.
You're right.
Yeah, I'm not going to speak on the marine safety side. You have but from our point of view, we're gonna come out and do. They may not even do a boarding. If it's a true medevac, they're not gonna waste time doing a boarding if they're taking somebody off.
No, I know, but this is what happened in this situation.
Yeah, and I'm sure the investigating officers who I think have the next segment, they talk about what's. Oh, I'm sorry. So yes, can't say you won't be boarded, but 2692, that's their fault. We just pass the information. That's all we do. Pass the information. Any other questions? Oh no, Mr. Klein.
If I want to make sure my radio is functioning correctly and reaching the command center, do you have a recommendation on the best process to do that?
Yeah, so you all listen to Channel 16. Channel 16 is a mess in the summertime because everyone's doing radio checks. You guys have a legitimate reason for a radio check, and feel free to call us. I'm going to leave some cards out there. You can call us in the command center. We can do it on another channel. If it works on 22, it'll work on 16. Nobody wakes up in the morning and picks up their cell phone and dials 911 see if their cell phone's working. So if I have a voter in New Jersey thinks they flash their code. And see if it's working. So please call us. If you want to do another channel, we can do another channel. If you want to do it on 16, the FCC does require the checks. That's no problem. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Cards will be out there. Has a email address on there for the command center. Phone number if you want to call.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up, we have SAS implementation with Lieutenant Moore and Lieutenant David Davis. And then Mr. Albert will steal the. Yeah. All right. One sec. Thank you. You guys got it. Thank
Everyone? I'm Lieutenant Moore, this is Lieutenant Junior Grade College Lucas, and we're going to talk to you about sexual assault, harassment, reporting, prevention, and response policies. Okay, so these are some of the policies we'll be touching on today. We came in, you should have gotten Marine Safety Information Broadcast 1323, so that is really a lot of valuable information on it. And you may have also gotten Marine Safety Information Broadcast 0123, should attack a second. So over the last year, we, inspectors, have been doing a lot of outreach, trying to inform people about reporting responsibilities and reporting options for sexual assault and sexual harassment. So that's when you would have gotten that MSIB 0123. What does that mean? So what's really important, what I really want you to take away from this today is that there are 3 ways to report sexual assault and sexual harassment. So the first way is by scanning this scannable QR code. That'll take you to your app store. That's good for Android or for iPhone, and that'll prompt you to download the CJIS Tips app, CJIS being the Coast Guard Investigative Service. The second way is to call this phone number. So that'll take you straight to our direct line to the National Command Center. They respond 24/7, and the people that answer the phone are equipped to take those reports of sexual assault and sexual harassment. And the third way is to send your report to this email, cjistips@uscg.mil. So what's really important is that the Coast Guard is committed to eradicating sexual assault and sexual harassment in the maritime industry. So when you make a report, we are going to launch an investigation and conduct reviews. So that's CJIS. So this is the way that you report, and then this is what happens next. The rest of this flowchart will be discussed by our investigators immediately following this, but this is the most important thing if you want to take a picture of it, and that's kind of far away. This is also on the MSIB that we've been giving you, but just know that you have 3 ways to report. Okay, so why is this important? This is important because we care about you, we care about your merchant mariners, just like you do. We want to make sure that no one has the fear of sexual assault or harassment in their workplace. So how do we do that? We make sure that we take all the reports that we get seriously, we investigate them, because we want to hold offenders accountable. So definitely use those 3 ways. Make sure your crew is well versed in those 3 reporting options. And then I just want to highlight one thing. So we talked about MSIB 0123 and then MSIB 1323. One big difference between those, or an update, is what it means to be a responsible entity. So previously, the burden for reporting was on the master or the person in charge, but now a responsible entity is defined as an owner, master, or managing operator of a documented vessel engaged in commercial service, or the employer of a mariner on the vessel. So that's a lot of us in this room. Thank you for taking reports of sexual assault and sexual harassment seriously. I appreciate your commitment to not only your crew, yourselves, but yeah.
Yeah, so with all this, different policies and regulations followed. MSIB 13-23 captures the different policies and regs that were implemented. We want to make sure that hopefully at some point you've either seen this, heard about it, talked with the marine inspectors during your inspections. If not, we have copies, hopefully you're able to grab one. Not everything on the MSIB applies to small passenger vessels. So the first one, for example, display of information through berthing areas, that's targeted more to merchant marine vessels. The second one, surveillance systems and response training, is for specific commercial vessels that do not carry passengers. Master key control, however, does fall for you guys, and that is because your vessels are subject to inspection under 46 USC 3101. So if there's anything to make sure that you would take away from the MSIB is that master key control is something that you guys are gonna have to implement. There was no phase-in period with this. This was implemented in December, this past December, and it was self-implemented. So basically, this is something that you need to have on your vessel when we come out. You need to have a master key control system for the master key and all the copies that are on board. You need to create a list of the crew members identified by rank, position, name, who are able to use the keys on the vessel and the copies. And only those crew members that are listed can use them. You can maintain them in your logbook. This could be electronic. This can be a spiral bound notebook. This could be your official logbook that you have now. You make a section in the back. Just label it your master key control system. You just need to have some type of logbook to track when the keys are used, the date and time, the room where they were used to access, the name and rank of the crew member. And again, I know a lot of you guys have like laptops you keep logbooks on, spiral notebooks, it could be anything. But when the inspector is on board and you ask for it, you just need to be able to have something to show them. The policy letter, which was also in the back, hopefully you were able to grab, policy letter 2306 goes over what spaces require master key control system. It basically boils down to any space that's when it's locked, it's intended to be inaccessible by others. So that could be staterooms, bathrooms, changing rooms. If your pilot house, if you have it locked when you're in the way, and it's key control access, that would also fall under that. Another thing, a big thing too, in the policy that it highlights is that there should be routine auditing by the master and training. Make sure your crew is aware. Make sure you're making sure the system works, and that the crew members understand that there's, when the keys are used, there needs to be some type of entry in the logbook. Oh boy.
So how is this affecting, most of us don't have those accommodations, most of us don't have bathrooms with a key lock, most of us don't have wheelhouse with a key lock. I don't have any keys on my boat at all for nothing. So how are we pushing that over to us?
So if you don't have a space on board that you keep locked, that's intended to be inaccessible when you're on the boat, like the passengers and stuff, it's really not. It's only if you have those spaces that would fall under in the policy letter. Hopefully it was in that. And if you guys don't have them, you can find the policy letters online. If not, reach out to our office and we can supply the policy letters.
All right, explain to me how the master key access, when you're opening up the boat, has anything to do with sexual harassment. Just tie them together.
So the idea is that you want to have, we kind of talked about this before, but you want like documentation of who has access to certain spaces on the vessel. So that'll give you an idea of like who may have opened this room, who may have opened this area. And if that's sexual assault or harassment took place there, that can give you an idea of like who may have access to it or who last left it open or who last went there.
I get to the boat in the morning, I'm opening up the pilot house. How is that anything to do with sexual harassment? Just tell me.
It's just a preventative measure.
No, it's not. It's a waste of time.
It's another book thing, yeah, so.
It's a waste of time.
I appreciate your feedback.
It's not sexual harassment that we're arguing about. It's these absurd things. What would be more interesting is who was the last person to be in that room?
And that's what, that's what.
But you weren't the first person in the room.
I mean, these stem from real incidents, though. This didn't come because Coast Guard thought it was a good idea. These stem from real incidents, midshipmen, 19-year-old women on vessels, right? Could be my sister, a daughter, it could be anyone. We're trying to protect you.
But opening up the boat in the morning, explain that to me. I get down to the boat, I open up the pilot house, I open up
Any
the
space where
cabin
you
and we go.
can get secluded and lock the door, we just wanna know who has access.
No, you wanna know who opened it. You wanna know
Yes.
who opened it.
Yes.
That's not who has access.
Well, that's your job to log that, who has access.
No, who has access, I can tell you who has access, but you wanna know who opened it. That's my point. What does that tell you about sexual harassment? I just opened my pallet house. Tell me, yeah, tie them together for me.
Nothing to do with sexual harassment. We just wanna know who has access. That's
So
it.
why are you trying to tie this with sexual harassment?
Because someone got locked in a room, it was sexually assaulted, that's why.
Again, last person on the boat would have been the guy, not the first person.
Again.
Or the
Okay.
Fair enough.
And does every Coast Guard district makes do this?
Yes, this is national.
No. That's not what I asked. Does every Coast Guard district make their people they inspect or enforce it do this?
Yes.
Rhode Island definitely does.
I get a question. He's asking about wheelhouses, like opening up the boat. If you open up the you get on the boat in the morning, you got a giant cabin. It's not, you're just accessing the cabin of your boat.
I think it was while underway you had specified though, right? It's not in the morning who opens the door, it's while underway what's locked.
Nothing's locked.
Well, then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And once the
And
boat's
this is the only
underway-
thing that has a key. If it has a latch or something like that, this does not apply.
No, but what he's saying is, he comes on the boat in the morning and opens up the cabin door. You got a
That's not
back
all
door
the way,
to your cabin.
Again.
That's what he's trying to say. Nobody's gonna be going to cabin and do that.
Again. Secure staterooms, bathrooms, and any other space.
It's more geared for job.
Yeah, I know you, that's what I mean, you're marking up the wrong tree, that's all I'm saying.
Unfortunately, it has to drum down to us. That's all
So,
they've done.
okay, so let me ask you a question, what are we gonna do on a tiki boat, it's completely open, anybody walking.
You don't have that.
It's in a box.
If it's in a box, it doesn't apply. It's not a locked boat.
Oh, no, nobody will ask me. Nobody will.
And ask us. If you want reconsideration, just ask us, ask questions.
Don't have a key lock on your bathroom.
Recognize it's a safe space, we encourage these conversations, if you have questions, you have feedback, that's what we're here for. For that, but that's all, we don't have any questions.
Thank you.
I think we're at our final presentation of the night. Marine casualties and illegal charters with Lieutenant Simo and Mr. Engel.
So, Lieutenant Simo, the assistant deputy chief here at Sector Bay, and the warrant officer. Here I'm going to go over to talking about casualties and illegal charters. Let's get into it. So, what is marine casualty? Casualty can be defined as an incident that happens on a vessel on the navigable waters of the United States. If you open 46 Part 4 or 46 CFR Part 4, you will find these 10 items there. Those are considered marine casualties. So let's say you have a casualty on your vessel. What do? You're going to report that to the command center, as Mr. Umberger stated. And the SU, the situational unit, is going to take that information, just the basic information, who, what, where, when, and if you know why, like a fire, like if you had any idea of how it started. And they're going to pass that information to us. We're going to call you, and we're going to talk about, we're going to have a conversation about if it's a reportable versus an unreportable marine casualty. And what is the difference between that? These 7 items listed here, found in also 46 CFR Part 4, list these 7 items as a threshold for meeting a reportable marine casualty. So like I said, please call the command center. We have the numbers listed here. So
So, once we have a conversation about what a reportable marine casualty is, if we determine that you do have a reportable casualty, we're gonna ask you to submit the code 692. To this email, underlined here, phillyio@uscg.mil. Different email. You can send it to domestics, it will get to us, but it's more streamlined if you send it to the Philly IO email. We ask that you complete this within 5 days of the casualty. And if you ever have any problems with submitting that, please just give us a call. We're here to help you, okay?
Thank you, Kelly. The one thing I know, somebody mentioned the station sometimes hands these 2692s out as part of their post-star boarding. That doesn't mean you need to fill that out. Wait till you have that conversation with us. It's our office that makes the determination due to the reportable nature of your particular casualty, and we'll direct you if you need to or not. So don't feel like you need to fill it out because it was given to you. I love that our stations do that. They're very proactive. They want to help us out. They want to help you out, but that doesn't necessarily mean you need to fill that document and send it in. Not a problem if you do. We will round file it if we don't need to use it. But if that's something you can't do right away, just wait for us to have that conversation with you. And then just circling back to sexual assault, sexual harassment, just to go a little bit more into the bottom part of this chart. Once that report is received, and I know the PBA presentation, they mentioned that maybe you're not seeing a lot of action after these reports are made. Know that that's for a very important reason. CGIS is doing their work. They're really going to protect the person that made the accusation and the person that was accused. Confidentiality is paramount in these. So that is why if you do make that report, you may not hear anything. That doesn't mean nothing's happening behind the scenes. That just means that those people are being protected and that investigation's being conducted in a way where everybody, all parties are protected throughout the process to ensure that all their rights are respected. So criminal will be the first potential step taken by CGIS. If criminal proceeds, that may be adjudicated, taken care of, and then suspension and revocation against a credential mariner may be the result of that criminal proceeding. Sometimes, in some cases, they can't take it to a criminal hearing. That doesn't mean S&R, suspension and revocation of the credential, can't happen. So it may get pushed down and just be handled as suspension and revocation. So just kind of giving you a peek behind the curtain of how this process works. And like I said, you may not hear a lot about it once that report is made, but that doesn't mean it's not being taken care of at the appropriate level. Any questions on this before I move on? Something a little more salient for you, especially you're doing everything, you're working really hard to maintain your vessels, maintain compliance. We don't need you competing with people that are not following the rules. So if you have your smartphone out, this is a QR code here to make anonymous reports. You can also send them to our Philly IO inbox, or call the command center, or call our duty phone, which is right here, to make an anonymous report of illegal charter ops. I'm not gonna lie, these are whack-a-mole sometimes, for lack of a better way to put it. People put their boat up online. We know right away, hey, this is not a legit operation. You know, they just bought a pontoon boat, said, hey, I'll take 12 people out. I can Uber my car. Why can't I Uber my boat, right? Only makes sense. So we will work really hard to do this. Just understand this is such a dynamic thing. We ask for you to partner with us. We want to support you. We want to support the hard work you're putting in to following all the rules and regulations. So help us combat these illegal charters. Don't be afraid to report. We will try to keep you in the loop as much as possible, and we will do our due diligence to encourage these operators to cease. And if they want to proceed forward, we will give them the roadmap to do like you're doing within the rules and regulations. Any questions on illegal charters? All right. Any questions on marine casualties and reporting? Please over-report. I swear we don't bite. We're not there to make your life miserable. I would rather you have report to us. We can have that discussion. We can make that determination. You have 5 days. If you're aggressive and communicate with us, and you don't have access to a computer, you need to mail it in, we can work with 5-day deadlines and things like that. It's when people ghost us. It's when we have issues, or when we're finding out from other parties that you had a marine casualty, that's definitely an issue as well. With that, if there are no questions, yes, sir.
Can you give the breakdown again between, fishing casualty, you give somebody a Band-Aid on board the boat, or you, somebody gets.
So that would be, first aid. First aid on board is not.
Anything beyond first aid?
Correct. So if you're having to call, Mr. Umberger in the command center to get a medevac, or if you're having to go back to shore and they're having to have an ambulance meet you on the pier.
Say you get back to dock and somebody gets a hook in their finger or something of that nature, you don't call an ambulance or anything, and they get back to dock, the hook gets out, but they go to the doctor afterwards. Do you still have to call?
If you want to be proactive and call, that's fine. That, I hate to use the lawyerly term, it always depends. In that situation, to me, that's really in that first aid realm still. They just may want to get their tetanus shot if they're not up to date. So please, like I said, we're not looking to be overly onerous. We have common sense, believe it or not. I'm not trying to hammer you. Our role within the organization is to be that feedback loop. If regulations aren't working, if rules aren't working, if an inspection process isn't working, that's our job, is to identify those potential errors in the system or errors out here in the port. So when you give us that information, if we have 7 elisions at a certain location, like a bridge elision, that helps us work with our waterways, work with Army Corps of Engineers. So if you don't report to us, we don't know problems exist. So it really is in your best interest. We're not, like I said, here to write tickets, fine people, or make people's life miserable. We're here to make it better for everybody. Any other questions?
I'll catch up with you afterwards.
All right, Mr. Frayne, I'll pass it back.
All right. Thank you so much. So, just in closing, thank you so much for taking time out of your nights to spend with us, going over policies, things that are impacting your industry. So we really do appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed the accommodations, the food, the presentations. If you look on your programs, the small pamphlets there is a QR code. If you do that, please give us feedback. It's real easy. You can do it right on your phone. We hold these every year. We want to get better. We want to address issues that you want to hear about. So please provide that feedback. Accommodations, nothing's off limits. So with that being said, thank you so much and have a great night.
You need anything, Zach?
I'm just gonna get packed up.